All right, so to introduce myself, I am Garnet Harris and I lead the operations at Skycrop Solutions, GA. So a few of you guys in here, you may have known us as just the guys who come and spray your farm, but we do a little bit more than that. We actually started on the basis of being just an engineering company and a supplier. So we actually, we manufacture drones, all type of drones, not just agricultural larger drones, but smaller drones as well. Things for multispectral, for surveying, heavy lifting, and we are actually, we are big on the agriculture drones as they're known as for. So here for today. Um, I know I'm not a farmer like a lot of you guys here. A lot of you are very experienced, but I may know a thing or two about using technology in the farms. So, we want to talk about as Mrs. Clark, as she handed over and she's talking about smart farming and how we can leverage technology for higher yields. So that's what we're going to be presenting on today. So so let's go forward with this. So leveraging. So what do we mean when we say we want to leverage something? So it's in a sense leveraging. The definition is just using a tool or a resource, to achieve a greater result than just effort alone. So it means in this case, leveraging technology means precision, automation, and data to do more with less. So you're going to be hearing us touching on those three things over and over. Precision, automation. Because when it comes to technology, it's all about getting things precise. You know, you want to automate the process and you want to have the data behind how you do these things, you know, so you can make data driven decisions. So yes. So moving on. All right. So why does this matter now? So we see how what Hurricane Melissa did to us. We're barely just recovering, and thanks to people like Agro-Invest, and all these bodies here, they're able to get the farmers the knowledge, the help, the avenues in which they can recover, properly and do things better. So we're we're susceptible to climate change and extreme weather, rising production costs and the pressure to do more with fewer resources. So now we're short on food. We all know that our supply has gone down because of the hurricane and stuff. So we have to try to step up. And we as farmers know farmers to do more with less, less resources, less connections, so forth, the whole thing, less land. But not only that, just to get into the integrity, the fertilizer cost is going up, chemicals costs, and it's hard to find labor, climate shifts, and as I say, fewer skilled workers and so forth. So Um, yes, so before we delve into anything further, we want to do a presentation roadmap for what we want to accomplish for today. So precision application technologies, we want to talk about that. Data and sensing technologies, automation and control systems, climate adaptation tools, and decision support and analytics. So yeah, for our precision application technologies, which is going to be a big part of this presentation, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about things like our drones, you know, things like you have your drone rigs that they use to spray your tractors and so forth that you use to spray, dig, and things like data sensing technologies like your multispectral images, very important. How do we use that to kind of, you know, leverage it to our use to get proper production and higher yields out of our farm? And with automation can basically give us consistency. How we can use automation to get consistency repeatedly and reduce the human error on our farms. So that is basically what we want to touch on. Climate adaptation tools, things like timing, how you do proper timing, access and rapid response to adverse weather and weather windows and so forth. And for decision support analysis now, then how would we turn the data that we gather into actionable decisions, for future when you're going to do things again? You don't want to be making the same mistakes twice. You have the data now. So what can I use that data to do for the next time to do better, to increase my yields? So So that will be our roadmap. So just keep that in mind. So now we want to talk about farm resilience. So farm resilience is very important. And the thing is, the reason why I mentioned about farm resilience is that everybody can plant. You know, you can always put in your mulch, your preparation, your irrigation, the seed in the soil. But listen, anybody can do that and do it well. And but the thing is, what usually separates success from failure is the resilience of the farm. So a lot of what we're talking about with automation, um, the data that we gather with technology, the labor part of technology is to basically increase the resilience of the farm. No crop is going to be, you're never going to have a perfect season. You're never going to say, okay, then you're going to plant something and it just goes smooth. There's going to always be hiccups, whether it's rain, whether it's drought, you know, um, hurricanes, diseases, so forth. You're going to always have something. How do you try to mitigate and mitigate the effects of those on your farm and increase farm resilience? So, what is it exactly? So, farm resilience is the ability to adapt, to protect the productivity and to recover under pressure. So, its ability to maintain the productivity under stress, reduce vulnerability to losses, faster recoveries after shocks. And that is very important. Faster recovery after shocks. And then also how we use technology to enable adaptation, and not a reactive approach. So a proactive approach versus a reactive approach. So we're going to talk about that, you know. So just to delve a little bit more, things like your peppers, and your your peppers and your melons and so forth, those common crops, they come under heat spikes, so, water stress, transplant shocks, and when that happens, you basically get your flower drop, you get smaller fruit size, your bricks levels, they're down. So what does that mean is that the bricks level of of the fruits, like say melons or peppers, it basically correlates to the health of the plant. So if it comes under shock, then you know that you're going to have inhibit growth. Inhibit growth, you can have things that inhibit photosynthesis, and then you're not going to produce the amount of sugar content and so forth to ensure that the fruit is, you're getting proper photosynthesis and the fruit is maturing properly. So some of the time you'll have your farm comes under stress, and it comes under stress, and because of the lack of resilience on the farm, then you might have permanent damage. You might not even know it, but the crop stop grow as it's supposed to. Your production is permanently damaged right off the bat. So you should be able to implement things in your farm to make it become resilient so you can recover after any form of shock or any form of difficulties that the plant come under, because they are living organisms like us. So what can we do to make our farm resilient? All right. So now, how does the role of modern technology come into this? So we have our precision agriculture systems, which I am the drone guy. So you're going to be hearing me talking about drones a lot when it comes to precision agriculture systems. But precision agriculture systems not only just involves drones, but as we mentioned before, it involves an array of different things. We're talking about your GPS auto steer systems, that you can put on the tractors and so forth. Your automated irrigation systems, smart irrigation systems, so you don't overwater, you don't underwater, you water at the right time. So remember the right time, the right input. Your smart pump and flow control systems and your greenhouse and protected agriculture controls. So those would have fallen under precision systems as well as drones, which is a big part of precision systems, you know. So your automation and smart equipment, and that will enable you again to make data-driven decisions. That is what we want farmers to be doing in 2026, making data-driven decisions. You're not supposed to be a guess or one, okay, let's try this or let's try that. You should be able to have the data to say what works. That is how successful farmers does it. They do it. They have the data and they have the precision. So precision will give you the data because you will know exactly what works, when, and how. So that way you can boost your productivity and get better predictability. So you want predictability. So that's the main aim. So now, so precision agriculture. So as we mentioned, right input, right place, right time. So we've done the services extensively for the past 2 years as drone applicators. I can tell you this, our clients, they benefit from the right input, right place, and right time. And I will delve into that deeper as we go into the presentation. When it comes to drones, especially, you know, when it comes to foliar application, when it comes to your granular and so forth, you get a uniform and accurate application and you reduce the crop stress and you get a higher yield per acre by doing that. So when you talk about field mapping, rapid response during narrow weather windows. So you have your rainfalls and stuff. How can you get the crop sprayed in time? You know, you detect the stress. You get the crop monitoring when you can have the multispectral come across, fly over the fields and gather data and see what's going on in the plant before your eyes can see it. Things like that. Very important stuff we're going to be getting into. All right. All right. So agriculture drones in practice. So now agriculture drones, that's kind of what, you guys expect, knowing that I'm going to be leading the presentation today. We're going to be talking a lot about agriculture drones. It is a game-changing technology. It can do a lot of things. And when I say agriculture drones, I don't just think about just spray drones, large spray drones. That's what come to person's mind first whenever they hear about agriculture drones. But agriculture drones is, in a nutshell, any drones that's used in the aid for agriculture. So even your multispectral drones, as we've touched on before, those are a type of agriculture drones. So in terms of the worker drones, those big drones that you see carry almost 200 pounds of liquid going over the fields. Yes, those are your agriculture sprayer drones. They also do granular application as well. And we have it here in Jamaica being used extensively, not only by our company, but by many others, farmers who've actually purchased and owned drones from us, some other companies who provide the services as well on the market, and even worldwide, as you know. But before we arrive at these fancy agriculture drones that you see here spraying these farms, what did we have first? So first, the first documented aerial crop spraying, and that's what the agriculture drones does. It does aerial crop spraying. Was that the first set of aerial crop spraying was done in 1921 in the United States, and they used things that we call these fixed wing planes, to basically spray calcium arsenate on cotton fields, and that's in 1921. So that practice became known as crop dusting and it expanded widely. And then now, but the thing is, it actually presented issues still because what happened would happen is that when those crop dusters would go over the fields, it would leave a blanket of chemicals, and then that would cause drifts. And when you have drifts now, if you're doing things like herbicide and so forth, it will drift over into other farms. So that was a very, very expensive issue. Not only that, but it couldn't get up into the corners then. You have your fixed wing airplane, you have somebody inside of it and a pilot. So now there's a risk factor to it. You have to pull these planes up even when they reach about halfway inside of the field. So the corners don't really get the application. So it still wasn't as precise, but it was still a game changer for doing large acreage. So then they thought of something else, how can we mitigate those issues? That's where helicopters came in. So then we have helicopters came in the 1940s. And then you have these helicopters that started spraying. They were able to get up into the corner still, but it still presented an issue. It required someone to fly it. So that means it had a higher usage costs. So the operational costs for helicopters and crop dusters were very high, and they were very risky. A lot of accidents because you were flying on agricultural land. You had to fly very low, very fast. And then you have things like obstacles, you know, things stretch across the field, tree lines, and so forth. So you used to have accidents. So the liability was very high. So then, stemming forward, we are in 1997, where we had the first crop spraying drone. So a lot of persons might not realize, and when they think about drones, the first thing that comes to their mind, is the multi-rotors that we have now. They think that it started just a couple of years ago, but no, this started when I was born. I was born in 1997, just so you guys can know my age. And it was the Yamaha, what they call it, Yamaha R-Max. So it was an unmanned helicopter they used to spray. And it was invented in Japan by Yamaha as known. And that became a game changer. Persons realized that you can use an unmanned system to do precision spraying for crops. And that's where drones, agriculture drones, was born. So we had it. Persons here in here might know it. It's a Yamaha. It's called Yamaha R Max. So you can do your research. And that device was used to spray about 40% of Japan's rice fields. It was a game changer. 40% of Japan's rice field was sprayed with the Yamaha R Max. So it went out into the world. A lot of places adopted it. And then stem forward, we still had an issue with the Yamaha R Max. And what is that issue? It was, it still required very skilled pilots to fly. So you have to fly it manually, with a remote. And it's a helicopter still, so even though it's unmanned, it's a helicopter, so it's still a little technical. And they're like, maybe we can make this process more efficient. And that's when we arrived in 2010 when we have the multi-rotors, which you see now, you see all over the place now. These drones, what they call drones, they have propellers, some have eight, some have six, some have four, and these are what you call multi-rotors. They're all electric, they use only batteries, so they're very efficient, they're automated, so they manage to get these devices to operate on their own. All these drones that you see produced by us, that you see being used out there, they are operated completely autonomously. So why am I mentioning this? Because we delve back into what we mentioned earlier, automation. You want to automate as much of the process to increase your yields. When you properly try to leverage technology in agriculture, it involves reducing human input. So when you reduce the human input, you reduce the error. That way, everything gets covered. Nothing is left untouched. There is no line that is not crossed. So these multi-rotors, that what most people call agriculture drones, no, they are automated and they are the reason why you can increase the yields like by many myriads of percentages. So getting back to what we are now, the agriculture drones, they do targeted spraying and spreading. Excuse me. They can respond rapidly to pests and diseases. So these drones that we use in Skycraft, they can spray. They are some of the largest drones in the Caribbean, and they can spray roughly up to 30 to 50 acres within an hour. So just think about the potential for that. 30 to 50 acres within an hour. You're using about one-fifth of the amount of water that you normally use. So you're saving on water. And also, you're saving on about 70% of the amount of chemicals that you use on the crop. So not only are you benefiting the environment, but you're reducing the stress. You have mycotoxicity that even though sometimes you cannot see the effects of it, it can result from basically overspraying. You're using a mist blower, using a backpack, you have human error. They will overspray, they will underspray. It will never be even. So when you use things like agriculture drones now to automate that process, then you can get an even approach of your foliar application, of your granular application. You can get to spot pests and diseases before you're seeing it by using multispectral imaging, and then you can automate the process. When you get the data, then you can say, okay, then we don't have to spray the whole farm. Maybe this is the part that's been affected. And that way you can save a lot in costs. Because when you know exactly where the problem is, you can only target that area only. So you're being as efficient as you can. So not only that, but agriculture drones, they fly in the air. So they have access to difficult or wet terrain. You don't know when it rain falls, you cannot walk in the field. A lot of farmers in here they can actually attest to this. Rainfall, you cannot walk in the field. How you gonna do it? But you have fungus, so you have to spray it. How would you do it? Then that's when agriculture drones come in. Aerial spraying comes in. The drone comes, and the drone flies over the field even during wet time, during fungus time, during disease time, anytime, any time of the day, any time of the night. The drone don't require light to see. Human require light to see. So you might walk in at the dark and you might miss a spot. We tend to forget things a lot of time. We get tired, we're hungry. You stop halfway in the field because your back are hurting. But you put the chemical in the drone. You tell the drone exactly the amount of chemical to put over the field. And the drone just goes and do it automatically. When it stops, when it finishes, it remembers where it's to resume. It comes back, you put on a battery pack in it, you reload it with chemical, and you're gone again. So that's how it automates the process. But on top of that, the good thing is that the agriculture sprayer drone is storing the data. It knows when and where it's sprayed indefinitely. So if you want to go back and say, last year I had a very good crop. What did I do for me? How can I repeat that process? Then you have the data. You can put in what kind of chemical you're using and how much chemical you use inside of the agriculture drone system itself. You can access back, you can reaccess the the logs, the flight logs, so you can see when you sprayed, how did you spray it? How much did you spray? So then you have the data behind it. Because when you automate the process, you can get the data. So that's one of the main things that one of the biggest benefits to, you know, precision, precision equipment. So yeah, moving along. Yeah, so drones change the aerial game, for sure. So, all right. Now we're gonna get into a little bit of the technical side of things, being that we're on the topic of drones. So why is drones so good at what it does? Why is it so good at what it does? So you might see a lot of these agriculture drones and wonder, they're spraying 60 acres an hour. How? They're using 70% less chemical. How? You know, so way less water. How do they do it? So how do they do it is this. There's three things I want you to focus on. And I know you've seen this on a lot of our drones. These are the nozzles. So these are what the fluid comes through. The nozzles itself, um, they call it rotary. They call it a rotary atomizer. What it does is that you put the chemical in the drone. There's a pump that pushes that chemical through these nozzles. These nozzles rotate, and when it rotates, it actually breaks the liquid into uniform droplets. And with these type of nozzles that we use, and these are the exact type of nozzles that we use, they are able to, give us like 10 to 80 microns. And we're going to get into why that micron size is so important into why these drones are so effective. So we can get 10 to 80 microns with these droplet size. Not only that, but we can control in real time or droplet size based on windy conditions, based on the type of chemicals you're spraying, so that you can either get a more narrowed approach for precision, or you can get something a little bit more wider for coverage, so you can control the process. Not only that, you can even automate it. You can allow the drone to determine what could I do in this situation by utilizing AI, which our drones use extensively. And that is the reason why I've had such high success. And as much as persons might bash on it, well, AI is not really such a bad thing. It's been used in some ludicrous ways that, it's giving it some bad name. But when put to good use, you can actually leverage the technology in the best way that you can by having AI, which is deep learning into your agriculture systems. So um, with these atomizers now, you can get better surface coverage. Less chemical is being wasted, and we're going to get into why less chemical is being wasted by using these type of atomizers with drones and so forth. So now you have atomizers, the water runs through. So I want you to pay attention now. The water runs through this, the atomizer rotates and it breaks it up, and that's what you see coming out of the drone. So that's how it works. The third thing now is that when the drone flies, there's something that you call propeller downwash. So what a propeller downwash does is when the drone is flying over the crops, the propeller is generating a force. You know, that force is being acted downwards. That force being acted downwards, for any science or physics student in here, it causes a specific type of fluid dynamic where chemicals that's being, remember we talked about the chemicals that's being chopped up into pieces with the mic with the atomizer, that starts to rotate. So when that rotates, the drone is flying, it is causing disturbance over the leaves. And for over stand up underneath an agriculture drone before, it feels like a hurricane under there. So what that does is that it's disturbing the leaves. As it disturbs the leaves, these particles that's been chopped up into fine pieces, they starts to rotate. When it rotates now, that mechanical rotation is what goes up underneath the canopy of the crops. And when it goes underneath, you get the chemical both on the underside of the leaves and on the top side of the leaves, and even on the rest of the crop. So you get a very efficient spray. Means you waste no chemical. So a lot of persons, um, what you wouldn't understand is that a lot of the chemical SDS that you see on the bottles, they tell you to use X amount. And one of the main reasons they will tell you, say, hey, use, say, 1 liter per acre, is because they know that you're going to waste a lot of it. Human error has to be factored in into the recommended dosage rate for the chemical that you use. Being that we've done over 10,000, almost 15,000 acres since the inception of our company, we can tell you that we have utilized way less chemical than what the SDS sheet has even recommend per acre with the drones, for the sole reason that the drone will waste none of it. So even though they might tell us, hey, put 1 liter or put zero point 0.5 liters of chemicals per acre. You always work with the agronomists, you always work with the chemical companies to refine the approach. But we have been using drones to do, like, say, 20% of the amount of chemicals that you will normally use. So think about the cost saving there, by using the drones, we get maximum efficiency, better coverage. You have no pest issues because you're getting such a good coverage with the drone because of the downwash and because of the rotation. So when you see the drone spraying, that's what's actually happening. It's rotating and it's releasing the downwash down onto the crop. So now, thirdly, when you use your mist blower, now we're talking about droplet behavior. So we're going to touch on the first thing that we said before, the micron size, 10 to 80 microns. What that does is that it increases the surface adhesion of the chemical on the leaf. So when you have a very large droplet size, think about a raindrop. When a rain falls, and you see it falls on the leaf of the plant, you see these big droplets, and then you see it just runs down. What do you think happens when you use something like a mist blower or a backpack to go through your fields? You spray the chemical on the field. It touches the foliage. And when it touches the foliage, you don't even notice that because of the big, large droplet size. It's just running down. It's running off of the leaf. So a lot of the chemicals it's not even get adhered to the leaf. And yes, you can use adjuvants or certain surfactants to increase it, but no matter what, you cannot beat the atomization of a drone because the drone will atomize it much finer. And when it is much finer, then you can get a better surface adhesion. So the chemical will stay on the leaf for the leaf to absorb it. So you increase the uptake. So once you increase the uptake, then what that leads to? Better yields because the chemical is going right where it needs to be. You know, not only just the chemical, but the product is going right where it needs to be. Nothing is being wasted. It's getting adhered to the leaves, because it's a foliar application, and nothing is being wasted or run off from the leaves, you know. So that is the reason why the micron size of those rotary discs are so important, because it increase surface adhesion. And then when you use your adjuvants and your surfactants, make it even better because we use that extensively in our drones as well. So, so you get better pest control, you reduce environmental loss and you get a faster application per acre. All right. So that's how the drone can be as effective as it is. So now we're going to get into multispectral imaging. All right, so this here is a game changer. So think about this as like the worker drone as your laborer, and this would be like your agronomist who comes and inspect your field and tell you what's going on. What a multispectral drone does is that um, it flies over the field, and once it flies over the field, it basically emits basically like a light band. So if think about a light band, blue, red, blue, red, yellow. um, red edge, infrared. And what that does is that because of how light behaves, certain different objects absorbs light differently. So how do we use this to leverage? How do you use this to our leverage to find out what's going on in our field? By getting early detection of crop stress before visible damage. So remember now, crop stress, the health of the plant, it directly correlates to chlorophyll, photosynthesis and cell structure. So when you emit these light bands into the leaves, then what it tells us is that the leaves is going to absorb it differently based on the chlorophyll content, you know, and water movement through the plant. Because, if water movement is disrupted, which the multispectral drone can tell you, something is going on. The plant is under stress. If photosynthesis slows down, which the multispectral drone can tell you, the plant is under stress. There's some disease going on before your eyes can even see it. You can go up there and look on the leaves of the plant, look on everything. Everything looks good. But internally, there's something going on internally. So think about a multispectral drone as an X-ray. You go to a doctor and you look good, you look all right, you look clean and fresh. But there's something going on inside of your body. You don't feel right. How would you find out? You have a broken bone inside of you. How would you find out? You could do an X-ray. So this is like an X-ray for the crops. So it is like a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer. Why we shouldn't be leveraging this, a technology like this to our advantage to find out what's going on inside of the crop before detection. So now how do this and the sprayer drones would work together on the automated system? Well, the multispectral imaging captures the data. That data shows a map of the field. So now when you get a map of the field, you can in essence um, you can get targeted approach. The multi-spectral team will tell you that, hey, photosynthesis is slow down here. Chlorophyll levels is dropped. Water movement is disrupted. Then you can go and treat that area. You can go more in depth to see, what's nitrate levels, calcium content, so forth, all of the more technical stuff. Because I'm just trying to be as for the sake of this presentation, as simple as I can. But it gets a little bit more technical and very, very beneficial nevertheless. So that's what multispectral images does. And it goes back to what we talk about, data-driven decisions. When you get a multispectral image of a farm, say you're actually contracting Skycrop to come and spray your farm once a week. You do a multispectral images throughout the spraying process. And when the multispectral images gives you the data, then you can say, the drone is actually doing a good job, or maybe I need to start adding this chemical because the plant is in shock. The plant is in a little bit of shock after this period, and maybe I can add this amount. So you can make data-driven decisions because you have the multispectral data to tell you how the plant is behaving based on your maintenance regimen. So when you're doing like you're spraying and you're also doing like your feeding, your foliar feeding and so forth, then you can know if your regimen is working. You know, you can know if it is working. Whatever you're doing, you can know if you're on the right path. There is no questions. You don't have to have any doubt in your mind that once you do a multispectral imaging based on your routine or regimen, you can know if it's working. Because a lot of the time, farmers here, they're doing the job, but what happened is this. They they're not, what they're doing is not making any sense. But you don't know until it's too late. The production is already gone. You realize that your melon them not grow big enough, you lost your crop. So you have to know that what you're doing is right. And how you know what you're doing is right? Getting things like multispectral imaging done, automating the process, getting data so you can increase crop health and increase the yield. All right. So reducing losses. So basically what we talk about is about reducing losses. So you do less application and waste. You reduce runoff and drift when you do using the sprayer drones, and you're improving the timing accuracy, you know? So consistency. When you have the data and you know what you're doing, then you can become consistent because you know what you're doing, You have the tools to do it, so you can become consistent. So how does consistent? Why is consistency good for capital in terms of bringing in capital on your farm? Well, we all know how business run. Business, you need the money before you even can deliver the product. And that's just, it might sound away, but that's just how the business works, you know? So when you can say, okay, then you're going to put 5 acres of, you want a production, you need 100,000 melons. And you can guarantee that you can provide 100,000 pounds of melons to a supplier. Then you can already start prepping and making the financial decisions, knowing that you can be consistent to reach your goals. When you can produce X amount of peppers and you can be consistent with it, then you can actually get, make financial decisions knowing that you're gonna be more consistent. So you can do reliable operation, you can get stability that way, and you get risk reduction. So when you're consistent. So adapting to climate changes. So as we spoke about before, faster response to weather windows. When a rainfall, we always come with fungus and diseases. You have a 10-acre farm or a 20-acre farm. How do you react to that fast enough? Especially when the rain is on and off. You can't get so much persons to spray off a 20-acre farm. You get something like a drone. It's a no-brainer why it should be an investment for somebody who's doing anything over 5 acres. Because something that large, 2 acres, you need to can react quickly to reduce stress, to increase the resilience. Remember, we talk about resilience, the ability for the farm to operate and bounce back after any form of rigorous condition. You should be able to bounce back immediately. All our clients, they benefit from that. As soon as something happens, they see a detection, they call us. We're there. The drone spray in a no time. 20 acres, less than a few hours. 1.5 hour, 1 hour. That way, the whole plot is covered immediately. In a rainy time now, you have very tight windows, in and out. So you have faster response, reduce labor dependency, because if you have a drone at your disposal or something like that, you don't have to depend on calling Mr. John from across the field or call Mas Jack to come put on the mist blower, come spray. You can just get up, load the drone. You don't even have to know if you can fly it properly. All you just press one button, tell the drone to go out there and do it. It get up on its own and it goes out there and do it. And you just watch it work. So you don't have to depend on any labor. It's a no-brainer. And then the ability to operate under variable conditions, because the drone can even spray in rain, believe it or not. You can spray at night. So if it's nighttime, you can't see anything. You can send the drone go out there go spray at night. We do a lot of night spraying. And our clients, when we supply the units to them, we train them how to fly at night. The drone don't require eyes to see. So technology, we're using technology as a resilience tool. Resilience. You want to bounce back quickly. So that's what you want to leverage the technology for. That way you're going to increase production. And then to make data-driven decisions. You have the data because you automate the process. So you have the weather, field history. You don't have to do no guesswork. You can make confident approaches because you have the records and you have the crop performance trends. How do we get those crop performance trends? Things like your multispectral analysis as one. That's just one approach. But because we're on the topic of drones, things like your multispectral analysis, you can get the trends because you have all those data, all those multispectral data to show that, hey, see a trend in data. See that as we increase this amount of additives, we're getting this amount of photosynthesis, this amount of chlorophyll, this amount of bricks content. You know, you can make data-driven decision because you have the trends. You can trend it. You can trend as far back as 2 years ago. Why 2 years ago this happened and that didn't happen? You can trend it because you have the data. All right. So now the economic case. This is the meat of the matter. Everything is all about money at the end of the day. We have family to feed. We have family to feed, and we have to make sure that what's the economical case from this. So higher yield per acre with precision application. So you're going to get a higher yield. And most of our clients, they can attest to that. We're bringing crops from smallest stage to the largest stage with precision, precision technology. So you reduce chemical and input waste. So when you're using thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in chemical, you can cut that down, not all the way down and save money. Lower labor dependency. At the end of the day, an upfront cost to get automated systems, it might have a higher upfront cost, but it works out way better in the end, guys. You know, because your downtime is going to be a lot less. It's gone. The labor dependency, the dependency, very low. So you can basically do what you need to do when you want to do it, you know, and you have less downtime. And you have predictable operating costs. Because now that you automate the process, then you can say, I know it's going to cost me at least $2 million this year to operate, to run the farm or whatever, or at least a mil, because you know the amount of money that goes into automating the process. When you don't automate the process, it might cost you, say, $1 million this year, and then the guys them decide say, hey, more and more pay, or me can't go make it today. So you have to pay somebody last minute to come and do what you need to get done. So that's gonna have the operating costs all over the place. But when you automate the process, you can have a predictable operating cost. And that way you can get scalable returns you know. So as the acreage and the area grows, because you know what you did with 1 acre or 2 acre, you know what's the yield for 4 or 5 or 6 acre. So you can scale. And when you scale, you can get a predictable return as you scale. So if you know you make 1 million for 1 acre because it's automated, you know you're going to make 2 million for 2 acres. Just for simple terms, because it's automated, it's predictable, it is data driven. So this is the main thing of the game, guys. So as we mentioned, scalable solutions. So technology impact at a glance. Just to recoup what we just talked about, traditional methods is manual, it's variable, and it's reactive. We don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive. Modern systems is automated, it's precise, and it's proactive. Multispectral, you do the scan, you detect the pest before it happens. You can be proactive. Before you see anything starts to happen with the plant, you can treat it. So the outcome, healthier crops, resilient farms. All right. So key takeaways. These are the key takeaways we have here. Technology builds resilience. Resilience farm attract capital and increase yields. So we're leveraging technology to increase yields by becoming resilient. So you see the stages that we take throughout this presentation and how each stage is affect another. So, right. So this is it. Now to the Q&A. I'm pretty sure that you guys have a lot of questions. I'm expecting some of the technical ones to ask me whatever. So we're gonna go back to Ms. Clark to open the floor for everybody to ask some questions. All right. All right. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much, Garnet. That was a wealth of information. I learned so much, and I'm sure that the audience would have benefited too. There was so much value in this presentation. We have a few questions, and I'm sure there are a few persons who had questions that did not put them in the chat as yet. You can choose, I can open your mic and you can ask your questions. And for the ones that were already in the chat, I'll just field those to Garnet for him to answer. So the first question is from Howard. Before I go to the first question, there's a question about the recording. The recording will be shared to the Agro-Invest YouTube channel. And I'm sure you'll be sharing it as well, Garnet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Certainly.
So you can find it on both channels.
Yes.
Then for Howard, he says if you reduce the dose rate of chemicals, does this not affect the efficacy of the application per acre?
Well, yes. So that's a good question. So going back to what we mentioned before, um, with the dosage rate. So when they do the dosage rate and you guys can hear my mic, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. So when you do the dosage rate on the SDS of the chemicals. When they prepare these dosage rates, they factor in the fact that a lot of it is going to be wasted because of human error. So that's just how, if you guys have done chemistry or if you've done product, any form of manufacturing, when you're manufacturing any form of product, you have to factor in the human error side of it. So how is it going to be used? They know most of these chemicals, when they were actually being manufactured, the drones were not as extensively being used. It's mostly like in ground rigs and mist blowers, backpacks, those normal, boom sprayers, so forth. So because of how less efficient those means are, then they have to rate the chemical. Say, hey, if the plant needs zero point 0.3 liters of chemical, and they know that you're going to waste zero point 0.7 liters of chemical getting the zero point 0.3, then they have to mark up the chemical by a certain amount. So if they know that you're going to waste 70% of the chemical, they have to put 1 liter per acre because the average human or the average user, based on their testing and their analytics and their data gathering, if they've tested and realized that 70% of the chemical is weighted by an average user, then they have to put on the chemical, say, put 1 liter per acre because of the efficacy of how you'll be doing it. With drones, the human error part is gone. So then you can reduce it, the real amount. So the chemical goes right where it needs to go without being wasted. So that's the reason why drones on a regular, you can cut down the amount of chemicals that they use without affecting the plant uptake.
Okay. All right. For those with their hands raised, we're going to come to you shortly. We're just trying to get the questions that were in the chat first. All right. This one is from Leroy, and it says, "Is Skycrop Solutions promoting a drone service to farmers?" Yes. "What is their capacity to service multiple farmers who may be so moved based on the presentation to sign up? It appears that this may be ideal for large farmers, but the small farmers below 5 acres may need the service. Technology is good, but it's a process for the small farmer."
Well, yes, that's Mr. Leroy. Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, Skycrop, that's why we were formed. You know, we actually targeted small farmers first, and small farmers will always be our main market because just that's how the foundation of our company was formed. And large farmers, they can afford to get, larger rigs and so forth to take care of their farm. They can automate the process better. But we have served extensively probably the most small farmers of any company since our inception. Last year we did over 6,000 acres, and that is does not include any of our large operation. We're talking about like sub 5 acre farmers. So when you divide that 5 to 7 acres, so it's over 900 farmers, about 900 farmers or so. We've served last year and continues to serve. So we have a great capacity. We're growing. We actually have a team of pilots. We can be in multiple places at once. And what we do is that we offer the service. So if you reach out to a small or large farmer, depending on your location, we have our transportation costs and so on. We'll travel to you and we'll take care of your farm. Not only that, we're also a manufacturer and a supplier. So we don't just provide the service, we sell you the drones, we give you the training, we give you the maintenance, all of that. So the reason why we've gotten the support that we've gotten from not only just Agro-Invest, and other government entities and farmers is because we're providing an avenue for a one shop, one-stop shop. So for small farmers, sub 5 acres, if you're having problems with service in your area and we're still trying to reach every farmer, we still have problems reaching to every farmer with our service, we recommend that they just buy a drone. We know that buying a drone may be hard. That's the reason why we have different sizes. So if you're a farmer that's a small farmer, we have a 10-liter drone for you. We have a 20-liter drone for you. So we don't just have the big drones that you have to get. We sell 10-liter drones to small farmers all the time. They're benefiting from it. They're very good drones, and you can spray your farm with it quite easily. You can do a 4 acre or 3 acre farm with a 10-liter drone in less than 2 hours, you know? And not only that, but we have financing opportunities now. So if you have a business with cash flow, we have financing opportunities for persons who wants to own a drone for themselves. which is ideal. We promote you to own a drone, so you can reach out to Agro-Invest for more information on that as well, and about owning a drone through Skycrop and also getting the service for us to come to your farm to spray for you. So yes, we do small farmers as well.
Okay. All right. And Natalie is asking, I would like to better understand how they operate while raining. Wouldn't the rain droplets affect the efficacy of the spray?
Well, yes, that's a good question. So we don't really do a lot of spraying during the rain because not only does the drone doesn't have an issue to spray during the rain. It's just that the chemical efficacy, as I said, it's not gonna make sense, You're not gonna get the adhesion and so forth. But what we do in rain is that we do granular with sugar canes. So we will drop these pellets. The same drone can drop pellets. And we have a large drone that can put a whole 50-kilogram bag of, your fertilizer of choice, or your pellets of choice. And we can actually apply that in rain all the time for sugar canes and other crops. Because that doesn't depend. Rain doesn't really affect it. Actually, you want the rain after you put it on the side. Yeah.
All right. There's a commendation here from Sam. So he said, I'd like to commend the presenter on an excellent and engaging presentation. Beyond his articulate delivery, the depth and quality of the content were particularly impressive. Although he indicated that he is not an agriculturalist, this made his insights even more compelling. I was also pleasantly surprised to learn that this technology already exists in Jamaica. And while I do not know the presenter personally, nor am I promoting his company, I firmly believe that this represents the future of agriculture. And we so agree. Thank you, Garnet. All right, so we're going to take some of the questions from the hands that are raised. Um, Donovan, uh, let me go ahead.
Morning, everyone. Um, Good presentation, very articulate, very detailed. Um,
Not surprised.
I'm agronomist from Caribbean Chemicals. So I have a few questions for the presenters. Um, so the first question is, how well does drone technology perform in small fragmented fields on hilly or uneven terrain? Because a lot of our farmers farm on the hillside with different degrees. So how well does the drone technology adapt to that? And if you have any examples of that and how it worked out?
So that's a very good question. I know we'll be getting some of these technical questions soon. So yes, we do a lot of hill work. That's to start out first. A lot of coffee, yam work and so forth. And we actually contracted to do even Michael Black Farms, which is, the largest coconut farm
Yes, in
in
St.
the
Thomas.
English-speaking Caribbean. Right, right. So, we have a lot of hills dealing with and so forth. So how the drone deal with hills is that these drones that we actually build is that it comes with something that you call an imitation radar. So what that does is that the drone flies, and as the drone flies, it's sensing the ground and the changes in the ground. And what it does, it can automatically adjust its altitude, when dealing with hills. So if you see a drone automatically going as a hillside and it's adjusting, that is not user input. That is completely computer input. It's because the drone is sending radar. Everybody know how radar works. It sends a signal down and then it bounces back. So when it bounces back and it see the ground coming closer to the aircraft, the computer automatically increases the altitude to hold that altitude steady, you know, as the
Okay.
grades change. Right.
Okay.
So and another part is for the fragmented fields. It does great in fragmented fields because especially with our software, you put in the maps inside of the drone. So what you'll do is that you'll map these fields first. And once you map it once, it saves those maps forever, indefinitely, until you want to change it or there's some changes. And all you do is just tell the drone which of these maps to go to. So it will go to this small block, and if it's zero 0.5 acres, if you tell the drone that you want to do X amount of chemicals per acre. It will ensure that it does the exact same ratio every single block, regardless of its size. So if you tell the drone that you want to apply 40 liters per acre, and if it is just zero point 0.3 acres, it is going to do the math automatically and say, okay, it's zero point 0.3 acres. Let's apply 40, that amount of ratio per acre, which is we will work out to about probably 15, if you do the math. And then now, after you finish with that block, you can send it to go and do another block immediately without even landing. So the drone is intelligent enough to know where each block is situated, and it goes there and do it automatically on its own.
Okay. Um, Another question. So you made mention of farmers can buy their own drones, right?
Mhm.
Farmers below 5 acres or so forth, right?
Mhm.
My question is, what is the realistic cost benefit for small to medium scale farmers, and how long would it typically take for them to see a return on such an investment? Can give me an estimate or average. It's fine.
Yes, man. I can give you an estimate. So yes, so we've done these discussions a lot. This is the economic side of things. So here what now? This is a new technology. I can see that. Not everybody is going to be able to own a drone. And this is the struggle. We struggle with some of the regions, with accessing some of the regions. When you have one farmer, normally there's just not one farmer in one area. What that means is that if that farmer owns a drone or get a drone for himself, not only will he be making his ROI back, and when I say ROI, I mean that if you have a drone, you can decrease your input costs for not just the chemical, but for the labor. Also, you're increasing your yields. So when you could have gotten X amount of produce, you're getting like say double the amount of produce when you have the drone. So you're making your money back with just the increase in the yield. Like if you didn't have the drone, you wouldn't be increasing your yield to the amount that you have. But not only that, but you're able to also service other farmers in your area. So if you have a drone and you have a lot of small farmers in your area, we always recommend that you get a drone, and not only are you serving yourself, but you can basically assist other farmers in your area. You can probably have a cost to it, or you guys come as a partnership and you assist other farmers in your area by spraying their farms because the drone does it so quickly. If you do your 2 or 3 acre farm, you can go to somebody else within 2 hours, within an hour. So think about the potential for the amount of farmers that you
Business
can assist in your
opportunity.
region, the
Mhm.
business opportunity that it opens up. So we as a service company, a lot of persons say, hey, you guys are selling so many drones. What's going to happen to your service? The thing is this, the service for us, we started the service just to spread awareness. We want the farmers to own these drones because we cannot keep up with every farmer. There's so much farmers on the island. Last year, we did over 900, as I said to you, small farmers. And we have a small team. We have to focus on the engineering side of things. We're selling drones Caribbean wide as well. And there's a lot of farmers, and I'm telling you, this is just scratching the surface. There's a lot of farmers there that needs the assistance. So own a drone because you're going to make the money back, even in the first season. Not only that, but the risk is low because if you should crash, have an accident, there's a company out here that will recover you basically free of cost. The only thing you'll foot is the parts, you'll get from us. So you can talk to over 15 of our clients who own our equipment here through just 2025 alone. Not one of the drones are down. So we know that drones crash. That's a reality. We have to talk about that. Not one of them is down because guess what? There's a local service company out here that trains you. You get the most advanced training and you get the drone with it. So your ROI, very low risk, and they get the ROI back quickly because of the business opportunities and the increase in production.
Okay. Um, Thank you for that. Next thing, you indicated that the drones collect data from the crops that are established, the stress, the pest infestation, all of that, right? Now, my question is there an initiative by a company like yours that collects these data and supply these data to the government for a national data archive where we can better manage pest infestation level right across the Jamaican landscape so that we can better be proactive in pest and disease management, in preventing outbreaks, because you will be collecting data for multiple farmers over a period of time.
Right.
So after a while, statistically, you can start to see a trend, a uptick or downtick in pest infestation in some areas. So is there an initiative by your company that takes all of this data, analyze it, and provide it to the government to say, hey, look here, in this area, this is going to happen. What's the agreement there, if there's any, between you and the government?
That's a great question. So you see the platform that I'm on. Agro-Invest, no, they have been assisting us, not just Agro-Invest, but rather as well, in having these
Mhm.
discussions because we are collecting a lot of data, but there has to be a body in place, with not just the database for the farmers them, but also, the network, because it takes a network. And these companies, what the plan going forward in 2026 is that we can actually start to parse the data, you know, with assistance from Agro-Invest, and so forth, who has the database and the network, to see how we can be more proactive, so see how things are working. So yes, it is a discussion. There's so much things that is new to us still. And even though we've collected all this data and see the trends and so forth, we still are going to be required. Not just our company alone is going to, but we're going to be providing as much as we can to the relevant bodies, like RADA and like Agro-Invest and RADA, so that they can, assist the farmers better and so forth. So it's a good question, and we are actually part of that initiative right now, working with these agencies, to give them the data to be more proactive with their approach.
So, okay, all right. Just one last question. So you
Mhm,
mentioned about the wind underneath the wind turbines of the drone, right?
mhm,
Now there are some crops that are sensitive to strong winds, like cucurbits, like watermelon,
mhm, mhm.
Did we lose him? I think we lost him.
which
Yeah, he's back. Okay.
you hear me?
You
Yeah, I'm
repeat
hearing you
your
now. Yes.
question because
Yeah.
we lost
Okay,
you, so
sorry.
you can repeat your question.
Okay, so the wind underneath the turbine. What I want
Mhm.
to ask, is there a way that you can regulate the downflow of wind? Because
You think so? Yeah, you hearing me? You break up again, but I
yes, I'm
think I
here.
get your question.
Yes,
I
so
think I get your
the
question. So
watermelon,
if yeah, you go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yes.
So basically, you're breaking up a bit, but if I can reiterate, you were asking if there's a way to regulate the downward thrust of the drone because watermelon can be very sensitive to it, right?
Yeah, the vines are so tender
Vines,
that it can damage
right?
them easily. Right.
Especially if it's young. Yes. Well, so that's a great
Yes.
question. So yeah, so the thing is, that's a great question. That's something that a lot of drones struggle with. But the reason why we engineer the drone the way it is so that because we brought a lot of crops from the young stage, adult stage, and with the drones, it can pose a risk when you have too much downward thrust going down on the crops. So what we have is that for our Gen 2 models, they have a very high flowing pump. And what that does is that it enables the drone to fly a lot higher. And even though you're flying a lot higher, you're not sacrificing the pressure of the chemicals that is coming down out of the nozzles that we spoke about earlier. So if you notice in some of our videos, because we have a lot of content on Instagram, a lot of young melons, if you notice when you're flying the young melons, we
Hmm.
fly a lot higher. Not only do we fly a
Okay.
lot higher, but we load the drone at way less the amount of capacity. It's because we use the largest drones in our service. So we're not gonna have a 60-liter drone and we're gonna load it all the way up to the full 60-liter to the top. Because Newton's third law, it's Newton's third law that mentions that for every action there is an opposite and equal reaction. If the drone is heavy, it's going to have a heavy downward thrust. So one of the first step we take is we reduce the weight by loading it less. And this is where experience come in. And this is where we talk to you about these things in training. You reduce the weight, and when you reduce the weight, you fly higher. And when you fly higher, because our drones is retrofitted with the largest, amongst the largest set of pumps in the world, the drone can flow much harder from that height and still do crop care without causing vine damage.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Hi, good
All
morning.
right.
You were saying earlier that the drones can pinpoint issues in the plants, right, from above,
Mhm.
with
Right.
imaging. Do you have any real-time or live images of the internal plant structures so we could even see what it's like or how different diseases or stuff would look from above?
Well, so if you want, I think I can pull up. Let me see here. I'm just gonna pull up an example here for you guys to see. I don't have any real-time images on this PC here that I'm presenting on. Well, let me see if I can pull up some data here just to see so I can explain. All right. You guys can see my screen, right? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, so you can see these images that I'm scrolling past, right? Or not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Trying to pull up data gathering. All right, so you're seeing this image here. So this would be an example. Let me see if I can pull this image up a lot more. So you're seeing this example here, right? You guys are seeing this example here on your screen?
Yeah, we're seeing the screen.
Okay, okay. So if you can look at the screen, you notice you have some very extreme red spots, and then you have some green spots here. So what the multispectral imaging does is that this is how an example of an image would look like when you do a multispectral capture. So when you do that, you can look at basically the light spots. And the thing is, this is just one light band because you can rotate through each of the light bands to give you different information. So we're using red now, red edge, right here, infrared. And what this is telling us is that for some of these crops that you're seeing here, you know, it's actually getting the water movement is disturbed, you know, or there's chlorophyll level is reduced. So that's indicating that some stress is coming up on this plant. Not all of them is affected, but you can see the spots where it is affected most for some of the crops that's present. Not only that, you can see um where the foliage is not so concentrated. You know, you don't really have much foliage or anything there. So you can know that something is going on. So when you get this image, it don't just give you the information and say, hey, you're getting some form of disease. You have to still analyze the image. So that's where we would come in because we have tools that we're developing at the moment, you know, that basically leverages deep learning and AI to be able to even analyze these images and tell you basically exactly what's going on based on data that we fed to it. Because you know you have to teach the AI. And once you do that, you're automating the process as we've talked about before. So you will use a drone, you will capture the image of your farm. When you capture the image, based on the light data that you're seeing here, you can know what's going on inside of the crop before even your eyes can tell you. So that's basically an example of how you would actually analyze it. So this is an image that you're looking at right here. That would actually help you to analyze it. All right. Think that kind of answers Does that answer the question, or do you want me to get into more detail on it? Hello?
Okay. All right. So if she needs further explanation, we'll get back to her.
Okay.
Xavier is asking the system, uh, the use of a system like this would work well with the farmers that the forestry department works with to integrate trees into their agricultural systems. I know that most precision sensors are designed for uniform row crops. In an agroforestry system with a multi-story canopy, how does the technology distinguish between the health of the overstory trees and the understory crops? Can the AI account for the shading effect without flagging it as a nutrient deficiency?
Yes, the short answer is yes. So the thing is, just to get into more technical part, when you have like multi-layer analysis, multi-layer analysis dealing with, it comes down to the constraint of the sensor itself. So you have different type of sensors, that can actually, some of them are a little bit more powerful than some, you know. Some of them have even different wavelengths of light band that you can use. So when I mention about wavelengths, what I mean is that based on the layer, the wavelengths of the light can tell you which of the layers you're looking at. So you basically can get a multi-layer approach, and not just for just, and it is not only for just multispectral imaging, but we're talking about LiDAR as well. We didn't touch on LiDAR much, but that is something that is used extensively in the forestry department when it comes to even surveying, and doing, especially you're trying to get through those layers and so forth when it comes to LiDAR surveying and so forth. But yes, it can, in short, but it comes down to the constraint of the sensor, which is retrofitted on the drone itself. So yes, the multispectral drones, they have different sensors, with different wavelengths that can do different penetration and so forth. So that's what it would come to, and I hope that answered that question.
Okay. This is a follow-up question from Xavier as well. If we implement this technology, can you guarantee that it supports biodiversity metrics and not just biomass volume? We need to ensure that higher yields don't come at the cost of turning our diverse agroforestry plots into sterile tree plantations.
Well, yes. So the thing is, at the end of the day, as I mentioned, you know, it is all about refining, the best approach to what we're already doing. So we're doing something, what we're doing now is actually a lot more worse for the agroforestry, you know, with the manual methods. It is bad for the environment because, we're doing a lot of wasting, a lot of drifts. And when it comes to drifting and so forth, when it comes to especially chemical application in which that is where this is the where we shine the most, that's what we do. Um, any manual method is actually worse for the environment now. So it is a good question that you present. And in short, all I can say is refine, we're trying to do better with the method that we're actually already doing. So it's actually better for basically the environment, which will be better for agroforestry and so forth. So, right. So we're not just focused on higher yields, but we're focusing on just, refining the methods, making sure that what we're doing it better, and we're doing it better for the environment.
Okay, so we're coming down to the big question, Garnet. But one more
Mhm.
question before we get there.
Yeah.
Um, can you still use, this is from Sandra, can you still use a system on or aquaponic towers? And two, she want to know, do you provide the land topography mapping as a standalone service?
Yes, the question is yes. For aeroponic systems, I've never personally used it on an aeroponic system before. I don't see why you could not. If the basically if it's a large, I know aeroponics don't utilize a lot of land. So that constraint when it comes to coverage, it's not really such a big issue when it comes to aeroponics. So you're not gonna be seeing a lot of drones unless it's a very large, I would say something above 2 or 3 acres. But that's a lot for
Mhm.
aeroponics though. Yeah, 2 or 3 acres with a setup like that it would be a lot. But we never actually seen drones being used for aeroponics because it doesn't really have that constraint in terms of like land or area, wide area, it's hard to access, you know. But I don't see why it couldn't because drone have such good penetration. If you have something set up in a large area and you want a very small drone, because we even have 2 liter drones. I mean, we don't build them anymore, but you have drones that's 2 liter. We're talking about drones that can fit inside of our hands. You can put the chemical inside of it and just do a spray and miss. But yeah, just to answer your question in short, I think we'd have to do some more research onto that. But we've never actually implemented it. But I don't see why it couldn't. And yes, we do provide mapping, topography. Yes, we do.
As a standalone service. So
Yes.
if that's all the okay. All right. So the big question. I see some questions about watermelon. Reach out to us and I'll connect you with somebody, as well as there was another question as it relates to hydroponics. Um, Again, reach out to us and we'll connect you to somebody. The big question now, Garnet, is what is the cost of the drones?
Yeah. Yep, that's the main question. No,
Right.
that's the most important. All right. So before I get into the cost, a lot of persons are familiar with drone cost these days. We've been on Alibaba. We know the US cost for it. VJ Agriculture drones, the ZAGs. So what we provide is this. We provide a package, not just the drone or the drone equipment. We provide a whole package. So what our package includes is a generator, batteries, the drone, the GCS itself, RTK, devices and so forth for precision mapping. And also you get, as I said, free maintenance and the training. The training package, as I would say for drones, worldwide is very expensive. It can get really relatively expensive. And we provide that for free with all drones that you purchase. So you get a package. So our drone prices, it ranges from with a 10 liter about $1.3 million for a fully decked out 10 liter. And let me explain. We have price ranges from about 900,000 to about $1.3 million for 10 liters because we do provide education models for as well. So for persons who are looking to do drone training, for educational purposes, then they probably don't need a fully decked out 10 liter. We also have the 20 liter drones, which is one of our best sellers, because of just the average sizings for anybody who's over 5 acre 3, 5 acre, and you're looking to expand, they will get a 20 liter drone that can also be increased to a 30 liter drone in the future with the same airframe. That's about $1.8 million, for average price. So with that, you'll get the same package. You get the generator, training, charger, all of that. And then we go up to the 30 liters. The 30 liters gets a little bit more expensive, about $2.5 million for our whole package and the generator and everything with the training. And our one of our another, which is our ultimate bestseller, which is the largest model that we have, which is our 50/60 liter drones. Those sell for about 21,000 US dollars for the whole package. You're getting extensive training for that one, advanced training. Talking about 3D mapping, 2D mapping, mountainous terrains, and you're getting, the large generators, some of the largest batteries. These batteries are very oversized as compared to other drones on the market and some of the most advanced spray systems that you see on avionics. So everything you're getting as a package. Good thing now is that if you have a company and a business with cash flow, you can actually get financing through DBJ once you're sourcing a drone from us. Um, for the mere reason that it is low risk, so persons can start to give loans, especially being that we have a local service center out here. And yes, you get the servicing for free because drone do have accidents. We get a lot of drones from China. Persons think that the Chinese drone themselves $2,000 or $3,000 cheaper than us. So it's probably a little a better method to go with them, but you're missing out. You don't get the proper batteries. With those, you don't get the proper batteries. We only smell smart BMS batteries, with larger batteries. You don't get training, you don't get the generator, you don't get maintenance support or anything. You're just left on your own with a drone that probably doesn't work as well. And then you're ending up probably have to come back to us. Unfortunately, if you purchase a drone externally, then all of those benefits that we mentioned would not be for free. So you would have to pay for maintenance because we do maintain other drones. No matter what the brand is, we will maintain and we rebuild it, we will repair it. We will train you how to use it, but it will come at a cost. So at the end of the day, it will be a lot more expensive for outsourcing than going with a local manufacturer and supplier here on the island, making very, very good industrial ready drones. So those are the pricing packages, and they are flexible. Those are just the baseline cost because of the type of retrofitments that the customers want. You help to build your drone. So the good thing about it is that when you reach out to us, you're part of the building process for the drone. So if you want any type of radar, if you 360, planar radar, 2D radars, if you want a different type of avionics, depending on how the experiences with the drone will give a different software and so forth. So yes, hope that answers the question.
Okay. Antoinette, I'm coming to you. Garnet, for the financing option, what's the process? Do they come to you first or do they have to go to DBJ first?
Well, yes. So we're just refining the process. So the easier approach is for you to come to us first because we have an agent that is they're dedicated, they're dispatched to our operations. So
Mm-hmm.
you will reach out to us and
Mm-hmm.
we'll send you a checklist of things that we would require. And then we would basically offset those checklists to our agent. And
Right.
then what you could do now is that if everything is satisfied on the checklist, if you have cash flow, if you have a legitimate business, registered business, and so forth, then you can easily get financing from any bank of your choice to purchase any one of our drones.
Okay. All right. So Antoinette has a question, and I think this is going to be our last question for this session. And it's what about a simple system drone used just for observation and recording?
Well, yes, even though we don't sell a lot of those type of drones, yeah, we do have the options of providing you with a unit for just observational purposes. Um, I have to be very upfront though. We do most of the drones that we provide are industrial drones. That's the type of market that we're in. What you're looking for is more of something that's consumer friendly drone. So something like a DJI Mavic or something like that might be an option that you might look into because of the industrial drones. They're kind of an overkill probably for what you wanted to use for. But you can reach out to us and maybe it's something that we can discuss so we can put some options on the table to see if something that you might like. But yeah, we do provide those type of drones for just observational purposes as well. Smaller drones that we build for just, surveying and observation. So yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, Garnet, I'm going to give you the floor to just say any last words as well as to share your contact because that has been a hot request. So share your contact. How do they get in contact with you?
Right. So couple of ways. So you can get into contact with us through our Instagram. We are very active there. We have somebody can assist you and answer your questions. You can call us on WhatsApp. So our Instagram is SkyCap Solutions JA. It's a verified page on Instagram. Also through our Facebook, SkyCap Solutions JA. Also through you can reach out to us by directly calling us, SkyCap Solutions JA. You can Google our number, just Google us, SkyCap Solutions JA, and call our number. We're located in Old Harbor. And you can give us a direct call and we'll pick up your call. You can WhatsApp us as well. The same number, SkyCap Solutions JA. It is 876-424-5263. Let me just type it in this.
Right.
876 5263. So you can give us a number. We're very flexible. if we're available, we'll even take call on weekends. And you can also reach us through our website, skycropsolutionsja.com. You can reach out and you just go to the contact us support tab and you just send us an email, leave your contact information and so forth. And we're gonna we're gonna get back to you. But if you want to contact us directly, if you're local, call us. We're ready to take your phone call. It's easier to have a conversation, live conversation with you than rather through email. You can even email us at skycropsolutionsja. So you can email us me personally, Harris, skycropsolutionsja.com. Also through, skycropsolutionsja@gmail.com. You can email us there as well. I'm gonna leave that email in the chat as well. So you can email
Okay.
me directly.
So while you're writing the email address, the contact number is there. And for those who may not be able to see it, it's 876-424. Just got skipped. 424-5263. So that's 876-424-5263. All right. So we're wrapping up, and Garnet, on behalf of Agro-Investment Corporation, and for everybody who joined us today, and for those who will be watching the replay, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out to come and share with us this wealth of information. I'm sure each and every one of us is leaving here with something that we did not know. We're leaving here with something that we're able to take action on based on our different business needs. I would encourage each and every one that would have being privileged to this information, whether you can use the information or not, you may know someone who is able to. And so we ask that you share the information with that person or persons. So Garnet, thank you so much again. This has been an eye-opening session, and I know for each and every participant, they also agree. So again, on behalf of Agro-Invest, thank you. And thank you so much for everyone who joined us. Do enjoy the rest of your day. And until we have another webinar, we will be having quite a few coming up. So stay tuned to our email, to your emails. Hopefully, we'll drop in your inbox. Stay tuned to our social media pages. And I hope, that 2026 will be way, way, way better than 2025. So as we
Absolutely.
recoup and we get ourselves together building back from Hurricane Melissa, again want to let you know that Agro-Invest stands with you during this difficult time. And if there is anything that you think that we should be talking about in these webinars, something that, will help you and your business or help you and the farming community overall, then we are, open to your suggestions. So until next time, do have yourselves a wonderful day.
Right. Take care, everybody.
All right.
Thanks again.